Welcome to Middle East Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: the Middle East faces economic chaos. Israeli strike kills 16 in Gaza, no word if medicines reached hostages. In Davos, Israel's president says ties with Saudi Arabia key to ending Gaza war. Why are Iran and Pakistan striking each other's territory? Beyond the Red Sea, who are the Houthis up against inside Yemen? The Middle East faces economic chaos. Economist. The economic consequences of the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas are already vast. Trade routes are blocked, disrupting global shipping and devastating local economies. The Middle East's most productive industries are being battered, and growing hardship threatens to spark even more violence. Intra-regional trade has collapsed and the cost of shipping goods out of the Middle East has risen. Furthermore, the conflict has hit the Middle East's most promising industries, such as Israel's tech sector, and has caused a decline in tourism numbers across the region. Israeli strike kills 16 in Gaza, no word if medicines reached hostages. South China Morning Post. An Israeli airstrike on a home in the southern Gaza town of Rafah has killed 16 people, half of whom were children. The Israeli military has continued to strike targets in Gaza, despite civilians being told to seek refuge in those areas. There are concerns over whether medicines that entered the territory on Wednesday have been distributed to the captives with chronic illnesses being held by Hamas. The United Nations reports that over 24,000 Palestinians have been killed in the war, 85% of the 2.3 million people have fled their homes, and a quarter of the population is starving. In Davos, Israel's president says ties with Saudi Arabia key to ending Gaza war. South China Morning Post. Israeli President Isaac Herzog has said that normalizing ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia is a key element of ending the war with Hamas and a game-changer for the entire Middle East. His comments come after Saudi Arabia's foreign minister, Prince Faisal bin Farhan, said that the kingdom agrees that regional peace includes peace for Israel, and would recognize Israel as part of a larger political agreement. Although Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his right-wing government oppose the concept of a two-state resolution, Herzog said that public support is low because traumatized Israelis are focused on their own safety following Hamas' deadly October 7 rampage. Why are Iran and Pakistan striking each other's territory? The Independent. Iran and Pakistan have conducted airstrikes on each other's territory, marking the most significant escalation of tensions between the two neighbors. Iran launched strikes on Pakistan's Balochistan province, killing 2 children and causing injuries to 3 others. Iran claimed it was targeting Jaish al-Adl, a Sunni separatist group. Pakistan condemned the attack, calling it an illegal act and unprovoked violation of its airspace by Iran. In response, Pakistan carried out retaliatory airstrikes in Iran, targeting militant hideouts and killing at least 9 people. The situation is particularly concerning as tensions in the Middle East have been rising due to the conflict between Israel and Hamas. The US and UK have also launched strikes on Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen. The escalating tensions between Iran and Pakistan could result in a major conflict in the region and spiral out of control. Beyond the Red Sea, who are the Houthis up against inside Yemen? Al Jazeera. The Houthis are not the only group with influence in Yemen. In fact, they are not the internationally recognized government of Yemen. The Presidential Leadership Council, PLC, backed by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, UAE, is the largest counterweight to the Houthis in Yemen. The PLC was formed in 2022 after President Abd Rabbuh Mansour Hadi resigned and handed over authority to the council. The council is made up of several major Yemeni figures, including Major General Idaris al-Zubaydi, the leader of the Southern Transitional Council, STC. The STC is a separatist group with ambitions of secession for southern Yemen. They are backed by the UAE and currently control southwest Yemen. The STC is trying to temper its secessionist aims in order to fight the Houthis and maintain regional support. Other groups that make up the PLC include the Southern Giants Brigades, the Guardians of the Republic, and Al-Islah, an Islamist group that dominated the Yemeni government until 2019. The PLC is not completely united, and internal disagreements among its members have played into the hands of the Houthis, allowing them to maintain control over important territory. Arab nations develop plan to end Israel-Hamas war and create Palestinian state. Financial Times. Arab states are working on an initiative to secure a ceasefire and the release of hostages in Gaza as part of a broader plan that could offer Israel a normalization of relations if it agreed to irreversible steps towards the creation of a Palestinian state. A senior Arab official said they hope to present the plan, which could include the prize of Saudi Arabia formalizing ties with Israel within a few weeks in an effort to end the Israel-Hamas war and prevent a wider conflict erupting in the Middle East. How the right aims to scuttle border talks. Washington Post. Senate negotiators are nearing agreement on a border security proposal as optimism rises about the chances of notching a deal as part of a national security supplemental that includes aid to Ukraine, Israel, and the Indo-Pacific. Negotiators are trying to finalize a deal that is expected to include changes to the amnesty and parole systems to stem the flow of migrants to the border. Senate Republicans, however, face a hard-right faction of the party and conservative media ecosystem that are trying to scuttle any deal before it's even announced. A campaign by influential conservatives that includes misinformation, public pressure, and behind-the-scenes lobbying aims to get House Republicans to oppose any deal the Senate reaches. House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, has sided with the hardliners on the issue as he comes under increasing pressure to resist any Senate deal. Border security is an easier issue for Johnson to appease his detractors on, as he's likely to again defy the right by passing a short-term government funding bill with the support of Democrats to keep the government open past Friday. Which are the armed groups Iran and Pakistan have bombed? Al Jazeera. Iran and Pakistan have carried out airstrikes on each other's territories in an attempt to target armed groups near their shared volatile border. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, targeted an armed group in Panjgur town in Pakistan's Balochistan province. Pakistan retaliated by bombing hideouts of armed groups in Iran's Sistan-Balochistan province. The Iranian attack occurred just hours after Iran and Pakistan held a joint naval exercise and the two countries' foreign ministers spoke in Davos on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum. Iran claims it targeted the Jaish al-Adl armed group, which it blames for recent attacks in southeastern Iran. Pakistan claims it targeted the Balochistan Liberation Front, BLF, and the Balochistan Liberation Army, BLA. The attacks occurred within the context of Israel's war on Gaza, and Iran's attack on Pakistan came a day after it launched 24 missiles from 3 different Iranian provinces on Iraq and Syria in a military demonstration of force amid US and UK attacks on Yemen and Western support for the Gaza war. Pakistan fires retaliatory strikes at Iran, risking new regional conflict. Washington Post. Pakistan has launched retaliatory strikes on militants in Iran's Sistan and Balochistan province, which killed at least 9 people, according to Iranian state media. Pakistani officials said the strikes were in response to Iranian attacks that killed 2 children in Pakistan on Tuesday. While occasional violence has taken place in the region in recent years, this week's attacks come amid rising instability in the region following the launch of Israel's war with Hamas militants and U.S. strikes against Iran-backed Houthi militants in Yemen. EU Parliament adopts resolution calling for permanent ceasefire in Gaza, but Hamas must go. Associated Press. European lawmakers have adopted a resolution calling for a permanent ceasefire in Israel's war against Hamas, on the condition that Hamas is dismantled and that all hostages it holds are released. The resolution was adopted by 312 votes in favor, 131 against and 72 abstentions. This is the first time the European Parliament has called for a ceasefire after lawmakers agreed on a call for a humanitarian pause in October. The resolution is non-binding and highly symbolic. It also expresses deep concern at the deteriorating humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip and calls for the end of the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your favorite observer from the 6-degree world, here to bring you the latest news from around the globe. Today, we dive into the chaos in the Middle East, with economic consequences, ongoing conflicts, and escalating tensions. But fear not, I am here to break it down for you in a way that will make you laugh and maybe even learn a thing or two. First up, we have the economic chaos in the Middle East. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas has wreaked havoc on trade routes, causing disruptions in global shipping and devastating local economies. It's like a game of dominoes, but instead of falling gracefully, they crash into each other like a toddler with a new set of blocks. Intra-regional trade has collapsed, and the cost of shipping goods out of the Middle East has skyrocketed. And let's not forget about the decline in tourism numbers across the region. It's like trying to sell sunscreen in Antarctica, not a great business plan. Next, we have the tragic news of an Israeli airstrike in Gaza that killed 16 people, including innocent children. It's like a never-ending game of hide and seek, except the seekers have missiles and the hiders have nowhere to hide. There are also concerns about whether medicines have reached the hostages held by Hamas. It's like a twisted episode of House where the patients are trapped, and the doctors are playing a deadly game of will they or won't they get the care they need. But wait, there's more. Israeli President Isaac Herzog believes that normalizing ties with Saudi Arabia could be the key to ending the war with Hamas. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube with a blindfold on. You never know what move will finally crack the puzzle. Of course, there are opposing views within the Israeli government, but Herzog remains hopeful. It's like a game of will they, won't they that keeps us on the edge of our seats. Meanwhile, tensions between Iran and Pakistan have escalated with airstrikes on each other's territories. It's like a never-ending game of who started it, where the players keep changing but the outcome remains the same, chaos. With the conflict in the Middle East already on the brink, this new development could be a recipe for disaster. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire and hoping for a peaceful outcome. And finally, we have the European Parliament adopting a resolution calling for a permanent ceasefire in Israel's war against Hamas. But there's a catch: Hamas must be dismantled and all hostages released. It's like asking a toddler to clean up their toys before they can have dessert, a lofty goal, but will it actually happen? Only time will tell. So there you have it, folks. The Middle East is facing economic chaos, ongoing conflicts, and escalating tensions. It's like a never-ending roller coaster ride that we can't seem to get off. But remember, laughter is the best medicine, even in the face of chaos. So keep smiling, keep laughing, and let's hope for a brighter future in the Middle East. Now, I turn the mic over to you, my dear viewers. What are your thoughts on these developments? Do you have any ideas on how to bring peace to the Middle East? Let's discuss and see if we can find a solution together. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.